Tommy Murphy in the house said, why would, I like would, W-U-T, why would you give Purdy a contract after a 6-11 season?
Because all six of those wins were his responsibility.
Didn't it seem like that kind of like that tweet may have, or that chat was kind of like maybe a guy who was yelling?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
why would you give Purdy that kind of contract?
Yeah, this is somebody who's so bloodshot and red that they can't spell out would or after.
Why? Yeah. Okay, I don't want to, here do we I there's a million defenses for Brock Purdy. Okay? I just happen to have one in front of me. Seriously, because I was talking about it earlier tonight on Niners Nightly. You guys all should check it out.
That it was a topic of conversation.
Okay. Brock Purdy, among 49 quarterbacks with 500 dropbacks from 2022 through 2024. EPA per dropback, he ranked in the NFL. Oh, yeah, first. Okay, first. This is over the last 3 seasons. Completion percentage over expected, which is even a better stat than completion percentage itself, if you know your stats. He is plus 3%. That was good enough for seventh in the NFL in completion percentage over expected. Success rate, which is another good stat, if you look into the what cooks into the success rate stat, he's first in the NFL. Yards per attempt, which is basically how far are you driving the ball down the field, 8.9 yards per attempt. That ranked first in the NFL. This is over the last 3 years. And passer rating, which a lot of people just, if you go look at ESPN.com or NFL.com and you type in stats and you type in quarterbacks, usually they'll have them in not just an alphabetical order, they'll have them in some order, and it's usually passer rating. And it's so somehow in my mind, because they set it to passer rating on some of these things, it tells me that that's an important stat. I don't know that it is, but Brock Purdy 104.9 passer rating over the last 3 seasons, second. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Second, first, and seventh in 5 key stats over the last 3 seasons. He's a pretty good quarterback, I think, is the question, or is the answer. We could talk about it statistically. He's also gone to the Super Bowl and came from behind in the second half to beat the Lions and Packers, and really played, I thought, heads up against Mahomes with a lot of poise. When I think of the 49ers not winning that Super Bowl, I don't think that Brock Purdy lost it. Like, when I think of the Super Bowl 54, I do think of Jimmy Garoppolo having lost it because of some of the moronic plays he made in that game. The pick that he threw on the sideline, he just like, he just kind of threw it out there. Jimmy, I do think of Jimmy as blowing that. I do think of Kaepernick as blowing the Super Bowl in New Orleans when it's 1st and goal from the 7 and they roll you out right. And you can absolutely go for the pylon, and you just decide to drift, and then just fire a 100-mile-an-hour BB off of Crabtree's pads, incomplete, moving on to the next down. That was where the Super Bowl was lost, right there. So I do blame Kaepernick for that. I do blame Garoppolo for that, but I don't blame Brock Purdy for losing the Super Bowl. I don't know. That's where I'm at.
He was 24 years old when he went to the Super Bowl as well. Like, there is no incredible. Everyone is looking for the 25-year-old quarterback who can take your team to a Super Bowl. The 49ers have one. Okay? He's not perfect. He's not Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Those are 2 of 2. He's not Lamar Jackson or what. What I do know is this. If you want to go into this, the stats even more, he was a point better than the average starter last year. That's better than Justin Herbert. That's better than Jaden Daniels. That's better than Jordan Love. That was better than Geno Smith. It's better than Rodgers and Darnold and a bunch of other guys too. It's not as good as Jalen Hurts was last year, 1.6, or Baker Mayfield, who had an incredible year at 2.6, or Mahomes at 2.5, or Burrow, or Allen, or Lamar. But the fact of the matter is, you're in a league where Justin Fields, who I want to be unequivocal about this, sucks. He's terrible.
I agree. I
That guy,
liked him as a
I loved him
prospect,
coming out
but
of college.
I watched him a lot last year, and he just doesn't throw with any anticipation. He doesn't see it.
He might as well have the running back throwing the ball. He is the reason that people say, oh, he should convert to running back or wide receiver. He's the reason why that Mark Jackson had to deal with all that shit, because of guys like him who, in fact, cannot play quarterback. And he sucks. He got $20 million on a one-year deal to be the starting quarterback of the New York Jets. He is good for, in my estimation, of course, 2 wins a year. If he plays 17 games as your starting quarterback, he will win you $10 million a win in the modern NFL. How many of last year's 6 wins were Brock Purdy? 5, 6. I mean, if they won, it's because Purdy was awesome. And the entire roster falls apart around them. They lose a lot of top-level talent. They have been a stars and scrubs roster for the last 3 or 4 years. And the lack of a middle class came back to bite them in the ass last year. They're playing kids, guys they signed off the streets, whatever they can do around a couple of stars. And Brock Purdy was the best player on that team last year. Bar none. Bar none. He was the best player on that team. So why give him the contract after 6 and 11? Because if you give him the contract after next year or the year after that, it's going to be a hell of a lot more money coming out of your pocket because you didn't bet on him now. Every day you wait, he costs more.
Well, and also, I mean, what about your being consistent with who you are publicly? The head coach, the general manager, and the owner are all on the record as saying he's our guy. Well, if he's your guy and you've got a ridiculously valuable franchise that is absolutely minting money, then take care of your guy and stop complaining about it.
It's a very simple thing, Larry. It's the opportunity cost. How much is Brock Purdy worth? Well, how much is it worth you to find out what someone else is going to do for you? How much is it worth for you to not have to go and get Daniel Jones on a 1-year deal for 14 or 18, whatever $million? How much is it worth for you to not be starting Mac Jones as your quarterback in 2025? I'd imagine it's worth a hell of a lot to you. Because this team has how much? Let me ask this very specifically. How much is it worth to Kyle and John to keep their jobs? Because that's the only reason they have jobs is Brock Purdy. They traded 3 first-round picks to move up into the draft so they could take the 3rd best quarterback. And they, and myself included, I agreed with this pick at the time, decided the 3rd best quarterback was Trey Lance. He was not. It was a shitty quarterback class, and he wasn't the 3rd best in that class. I don't know who was because they all kind of sucked. But my goodness, you make the move that the 49ers made for Trey Lance. You don't survive unless you get lucky beyond lucky and find yourself Brock Purdy in the 7th round with the last overall pick. Brock Purdy's the reason they still have jobs. So how much is it worth to Kyle and John, who, by the way, got to be feeling some sort of heat because they've already been neutered by ownership? Being able to do the jobs the way they see fit because of these new financial constraints. Clearly, that's a foreboding notion that Jed doesn't have as much faith in them as he used to, that he won't let them do it the way they used to. So how much is it worth to John and Kyle to keep their jobs? I'd imagine it's worth easily $50, $60 of not their money. And ultimately, if you don't give Brock that money, you might say, oh, well, you can get, he'll play his contract, then you can franchise tag him. All you're doing is prolonging the inevitable or setting yourself up for a massive failure on the back end that these two guys won't survive.
And also it's a terrible thing to do. I mean, you're going to sit there. It's a terrible way to play it and all this unknown. And you've been saying this is your guy. Well, if this is your guy, then take care of him. Then pay. The guy should be getting a contract between $50 and $60 million a year. As far as how it's penned out, this and that, exactly where he ranks. I mean, I don't know, and I don't really care. But I would say, 55. If you said to me, what's fair? If I was an arbitrator, I'd probably say $55, $56 million a year on a 3-year deal. And then you could, debate as far as how much of it's guaranteed and, what's the total guarantees. But I would say if I was his agent, I want a nice round figure, $100 million guaranteed. And probably more than that, but
I think it'll be
I
about
want at
150
least
guaranteed
$100 million
over 5.
guaranteed. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 100. I mean, I don't know that, if you offered a guy $100 million guaranteed and a 3-year deal at $56 million a year, I mean, that to me is, I don't think you have to set new records to take care of your guy. But I also don't think you can offer him $45 million and just go, well, this guy's making 30. He's gone to a Super Bowl. Almost every single one of these guys that's making more money. The market's the market. I'm sorry, and we can talk about the bad mistakes other teams have made, and over lunch sometime if we want. But the bottom line is Tua Tagovailoa is making 50, and Brock Purdy's better than Tua Tagovailoa in every way imaginable. So Brock Purdy's going to be making 50, and Jed's got to figure it out. Parag's got to figure it out. Lynch has got to figure it out. Whoever's handling it's got to figure it out. But they also got to get it done, and they got to get it done by, I would say, May, or they're hurting their football team's chances to win. And they've already hurt their football team's chances to win by allowing so many players to walk out and thus far not really replacing them in free agency. I'm a believer in the draft. I believe I could probably trade back from 11 to 15, trade back from 15 to 17, trade back from 17 to 25, get the player I want at 25, have 5 extra or 6 extra picks, and have a bonanza class. But I'm not sure they can do it. I mean, I'm pretty damn sure I can do it. I don't think their track record has been very miss in the first couple rounds. So I don't know. I'm eager to see how it goes.